Today on MHK All Day, we've got a recap of everything you need to know about this year's local election races. We also take a moment on this Veterans Day to honor the men and women who serve and have served our great country. Welcome to a special Veterans Day edition of MHK All Day. I'm Gretchen Kanan. But first, we'll give you a little recap of election night. This past Tuesday was a historic night that saw Donald Trump defeat Hillary Clinton in the race to presidency. But President of the United States was not the only bubble voters filled out on their ballots. MHK All Day reporter Juan Cisneros gives us a look at some of these local races.
Every 4 years, the American people elect the next president of the United States of America. But president is not the only thing people vote for at the polls. In Kansas's District 1, Republican Roger Marshall defeated independent candidate Alan LaPolice in the race for the United States representatives.
We said, what are we going to be when we grow up? Are we leaving this country better than we found it? And when we had that discussion, it was no longer, we weren't happy with where our country was. And at that point in time, she said, you like to fix things. It's time to go to Washington. Go fix all the problems of this country.
For United States Senate, Republican Jerry Moran won in a landslide victory, defeating Democratic candidate Patrick Wisner.
Well, I think he'll continue to support the Kansas values, and he'll represent us in the Senate in Washington, and I expect what he's given to us in the past. We need more good, strong, conservative Kansas.
In local Riley County races, Democrat Levi Smith was defeated by Republican Ron Wells for Riley County Commissioner.
We fought very hard, though, and I guess that's what makes the win really feel really great, because I did fight hard.
City of Manhattan also voted for a new sales tax that will go towards fixing roads.
This benefits our community in a big way, and this is also part of economic development. Whenever you want to attract businesses or retain businesses, you only get one chance to make that good first impression, and streets are it. If they think you have bumpy streets and it's not good for their cars, they're not going to be coming back.
Thanks for that recap, Juan. November 8th might have been a historic day, but November 11th is one where we give thanks and appreciate those that have fought for our country. Our very own Juan Cisneros joins us in the studio now with a very special guest. Juan?
Thanks, Gretchen. I'm honored to be joined by Air Force veteran and interim K-State president, General Richard B. Myers. Thank you so much for taking some time.
Thanks, Juan. Great to be on. Thank you on Veterans Day here.
So I think first we'll go off with a good question of what does Veterans Day mean to you on a personal level?
Well, I think it's, on a personal level, just time to remember all those who have served. And of course, in my 40-year career, and especially the last 4 years, serving right after 9/11, at wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, other counterterrorism efforts around the world, just an appreciation for those who volunteered to serve and serve their country, and obviously some injured, some were killed. And but that's what I remember. I remember that time when I was still in the Pentagon, and all those that tried to carry out the president's orders.
Why did you decide to join the Air Force?
Well, it's maybe not a very flattering story, but I went through our Air Force ROTC, and when they taught me to fly, I said, I love it. The motivation for being in ROTC for the last couple of years here was the draft around Vietnam. And I didn't mind serving, I just not sure I wanted to get drafted. So I stayed in ROTC, they taught me to fly, and the rest is sort of history.
Right, so you are a K-State grad, and you are the interim president as well.
Right.
What does it mean to the K-State community and to the people here at K-State and Fort Riley being so close, Veterans Day?
Well, I think, first of all, we have a pretty good sizable veterans population here as students on campus. We have professors who have served, staff who have served. So I think on campus, people, take time to reflect this day on those who have served our country, and certainly we're appreciative of those that have served recently. They're coming out of the service and have decided to come to K-State to study. As far as Fort Riley goes, we're just so fortunate in this community to have a big Army post right next door where we have very, very good relations, which in my time being associated with K-State and here in Manhattan, that's changed over time. And the relations today are just absolutely outstanding. And so you've got to think about all those troops over there and their families who I would submit serve as well. They don't get credit for serving, but they certainly serve when their loved ones are gone. So we could think about those from Fort Riley that are deployed to Korea. I think they deployed a brigade to Korea, and those that just deployed recently to Iraq.
And on kind of a bigger scale, not so much just Riley County and the whole country, how important do you think it is that we take time today to honor these veterans?
Well, I think it's really important. I think if we don't have people that are willing to serve their country in uniform, then we won't long be the country that we know, respect, and admire, and that the world knows, respects, and admires. So I think it's critical that we have people that want to serve. So that's a lot of what today is about, showing respect for those who have served, and then those that are thinking about it, understanding that the country does care about its veterans, what they go through in service to their country.
And veterans form a very vital part of our communities, not just here in Manhattan, all over the country.
Right.
What can we do to honor veterans, not just, on Veterans Day, on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I think, when you're introduced to somebody that has served their country, it's just to say thank you. I think is if it's sincere, it's a good thing to do. I think for the generation of veterans that are leaving the service now, that have served for the last, we've been at war, right, for 15 years in this country, in Iraq and Afghanistan, and the global war against violent extremism. We've been at this for a long time, and I think as those folks come out of the military, I think the best thing we can do to honor their service is to integrate them back in the community as quickly as we can, and let them find ways to be productive in civilian life as productive as they were with their military uniform on.
All right. I want to say thank you again. Thank you for your service, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Saying that. Happy Veterans Day.
Thank you.
I'm going to send it back to Gretchen.
Thanks, Juan. Have you ever wondered what it's like to be a local law enforcement officer? Those at the Riley County Police Department work hard behind the scenes day in and day out to keep our community safe. Officer Pat Teedy is a sergeant for the Riley County Police Department. His goal is to protect our citizens, and he strives to make our community a better place. Officer Teedy oversees a group of officers and finds himself ready to assist on backup calls at any time. His favorite part of his job is getting to be around all different types of people.
Well, we'll start the day out here in briefing, and then we'll go out onto the street responding to calls for service, assisting those who may need our help on a daily basis. And that it involves also traffic enforcement, serving civil papers.
Not only does law enforcement protect us on a daily basis, but they also give back to local charities when they can. MHK All Day reporter Caitlin Sabert is in the studio with Detective Brian Johnson to learn how area police officers give back to those surrounding communities during the month of November. Caitlin?
Thank you, Gretchen. I'm here with Detective Brian Johnson from the Riley County Police Department. Thank you for being here.
I appreciate the
So you're
opportunity.
participating in Hair for the Holidays. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, Hair for the Holidays is a program in which we raise money for families in need for the holiday season that otherwise wouldn't be able to afford Christmas presents for their friends and family.
And how many officers usually participate in this event?
This is our second year, and then this year we have 50 officers participating, which is just shy of half of our force.
How was Hair for the Holidays started?
It's an interesting question. In the recent years, we've seen that the police department, police officers around the nation are under increased scrutiny and under the microscope, which I submit is a good thing. We need public accountability, and and to ensure that we maintain the public's trust in our performance of the job. At the same time, with that in the background, what I wanted to do was have a visible way of showing the community how many officers will donate their own money to support members of the community. And so at Riley County Police Department, we're one of the many departments that doesn't allow facial hair. And so what we're doing in exchange for growing a beard for the month is donating to that program. And at the same time, that visibly shows the community just how many officers here support them.
So can you talk to us about the Cops and the Kids program?
Cops and Kids program is that program that the Hair for the Holidays funds. And that's, again, one of the programs that we coordinate with various charitable organizations in the community to basically go Christmas shopping with families that otherwise wouldn't be able to afford any presents for their children.
And how long has the Riley County Police been a part of this program?
The Cops and Kids program we've been doing for about 28 years now, but we've been doing the Hair for the Holidays for only 2 years, and that was due in part to the financial need. We found that demand in the community was growing, and we needed another way to make money for it.
And this must be really important to you. Can you tell us a little bit what that means?
The community here is very important to me, as it is to basically every member of the department. And even if people become aware of this program, basically what we want to do is increase awareness as far as the demand for this type of service in the community, to hopefully have community members support any charitable organization during the holidays.
Well, thank you, Brian, for joining us.
I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be sending it over to Avery Ostin, our sports reporter. Avery?
Thanks, Caitlin. K-State football tries to pick up a win over Oklahoma State, and the women's and men's basketball teams gear up for the regular season. That and more next in sports. But in the meantime, be sure to check us out on Facebook for current events around the Flint Hills. Don't go anywhere. You're watching MHK All Day.
I know a spot that I love full well.
'Tis not in forest, nor yet in dell. Ever it holds me with magic spell.
I think of thee, alma mater.
We'll carry thy banner high. Long, long, may thy colors fly.
Loyal to thee, thy children will swell the cry. Hail, 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 alma mater.
We may take different paths, but we all move forward, preparing for our future in the same historic library. We meet friends in the bustling student union and experience the exciting atmosphere of campus events. We appreciate individual interests and shared passions. Many different paths, one distinct destination. How does campus life become life experience? Connections, involvement, you.
From the golden flowers that give our state its nickname, to Kansas City's smoky scarlet barbecue, past the unique tint of limestone bedrock, we drive with pride to support future K-Staters. From the hilltops of Lawrence to the familiar streets of Aggieville, we love to show our purple pride. Whether you are K-State alumni or Wildcat fans, purchase the #1 Affinity license plate in Kansas today and help us paint the highway purple.
Welcome back. This is the MHK All Day Sports Report. I'm Avery Osen. The Wildcats will have to wait one more week before getting the sour taste of a 43-37 loss to the Oklahoma State Cowboys as they have their bye week on Saturday. K-State led by as much as 9 in the fourth quarter, but saw that lead slip away in the losing effort. The Wildcats are 5-4 this season and are right in the middle of the pack at 3-3 in the Big 12. Head coach Bill Snyder likes that his team keeps improving as we inch closer to the end of the season.
Certain things do get overlooked or can get overlooked that are features of progress that you've made during the course of the ball game. So, so we've got to deal with both. You know, we've got to make sure that we continue to enhance those positive things, and the negative things we've got to get corrected and become better at. Where your issues are, you better deal with them ASAP. And it doesn't mean that we haven't been dealing with them. We just haven't gotten everything fixed yet. That falls on us, obviously.
Only 3 matches remain for the K-State volleyball team as they eye a spot in the NCAA tournament for the second straight year. They're coming off a 5-set win over West Virginia on Wednesday night on the road. The Wildcats are 18-8 overall and sitting 5th in the conference at 7-6. K-State has this weekend off before they host Oklahoma on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. It will be a busy night inside Bramlage Coliseum on Friday night, as there will be a doubleheader for the women's and men's teams. The women's team will take on Chicago State at 5:30 p.m. as the men will take on Western Illinois at 8. Both teams are coming off wins in their exhibition games, as the women defeated Newman by 67 on Monday night. Head coach Jeff Mitty said he knows what the team needs to work on leading up to the season.
Still feel like there are too many uncontested shots happening. And so, I think while they had a rough night shooting, the thing that we're always constantly judging is how many uncontested looks did they, get. And I thought they got a few too many.
So Avery, tell us about everything going on in the sports world that maybe you didn't mention.
Yeah, there's the cross country team is running right now, actually, in the NCAA Midwest Regionals. You can check kstatesports.com for more information on how they do. Also, a little bit of disappointing news, Gretchen. The Manhattan High School football team lost to Topeka Washburn Rural 24-21 in the state playoffs this past Friday.
They were doing so well too. That's always so cool to see a local high school team do so well.
Yeah, I know they were bummed out. They were 9-0 going into the game, so a little bit of a shock. A little bit of an upset here in Manhattan, but I'm sure they'll come back next year just as strong.
Definitely. All right, be sure to follow us on Twitter for the most recent news in Manhattan and the surrounding area. We'll be right back with our weekly science segment after this.
I'm Ngọc Trân from Đà Lạt, Vietnam.
I'm Raphael from St. Mary's, Kansas.
Mình nói cả tiếng Việt và tiếng Anh.
I only speak one language, unless you count Pig Latin. Oh, you don't? Okay, one language.
I'm new to K-State and want to experience everything I can in Manhattan.
I'm hungry. Do you want to go eat some ice cream?
Sure.
Become an international buddy today and develop new friendships and experience different cultures.
How do you say Wabash in your language?
What's a Wabash?
Our community is more than a group of people. It's a place where the golden rule becomes the purple rule. It's recognizing the value of every individual and affirming the importance of diversity. It's freedom to have a different perspective. It's honesty underscored with understanding. It's becoming a piece of the greater good. We are many, we are one. Most of all, we are family. What defines the K-State community? Compassion, honesty, you. Open doors, warm hellos, classes spark ideas, traditions create memories, labs lead to partners, late nights, crazy nights. Hail, hail, hail? Studying hard, hardly studying. One last Manhattan sunset, caps and gowns, pomp and circumstance. We're on this journey together, remembering that every open door can lead to a warm hello. What is the K-State experience? Family, pride, you. Land Grant University, entrusted with serving the needs of our communities and world through the nation's most important research and testing. We don't cater to what's popular. We come together to find out what's next, what will save lives and better the world. Since 1863, our values haven't changed, but our methods have. What defines a land-grant university? Community, progress, you.
It's time for the Science Peek of the Week. This week we are looking at one K-State researcher who is being featured on Science 360. This is a program by the National Science Foundation. Mong Zhang, also goes by Peter, is researching particle size when reusing biofuel manufacturing, and he's doing this all with cellulosic biomass. In other words, he's using the parts of plants that are thrown away because they are not edible to make fuel. While the concept is not new, the method has yet to be standardized. Zhang is looking at just how small or big the pieces should be to get the most energy out of them without spending too much energy to get to that size.
Hello, my name is Meng Peter Zhang. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Industrial and Manufacturing Systems Engineering. My research is in biofuel manufacturing. We're trying to decide what is the best particle size to use in the whole process of biofuel conversion. People are talking about different resources of renewable energy like solar, wind, or geothermal. But when you look into transportation, we have to use a liquid transportation fuel to fuel our tank to drive our car. The reason is the energy content is so high and the cost is relatively low. Researchers are using different particle size from the little tiny nanometer scale to a 1-inch size of the particle.
To watch the entire video, you can visit the National Science Foundation Science 360 site or find it on K-State's Research YouTube page. The links for those are both on our Facebook page below. We'll be right back with Community Calendar up next.
Oh man, you know, the fans, you know, Manhattan, you know, Octagon is doing, it's a tough place to play, you know, we beat off the energy.
Better get ready, because here come the Wildcats.
Wiesman, does she hit a fourth? Oh my goodness, in the zone!
Lewis running the floor, catches, spins, and scores. How about that footwork? K-State have won in the first round of the NCAA tournament.
The heart-pounding roar, a sea of purple, wielding twists and turns, a sincere smile and simple phrase. Legacies that span generations, blurring the line between fans and family. Believing we bleed a different color, foundations defined by a single stone. That special place you love full well. What makes traditions unforgettable? Loyalty, purple, you. Knowledge is more than a piece of paper. It's being committed to leaving the world a better place. Dedicated to limitless learning. Conducting research that is tried and true, and then tried again. Crossing disciplines, blazing trails, discovering better methods that lead to global solutions. What is the K-State graduate student experience? Unrestricted. Proven. You.
Welcome back to MHK All Day. It's time for this week's Community Calendar. Manhattan, Junction City, and Fort Riley are packed today with events during Veterans Day. This morning's Veterans Day parade through Manhattan was a hit with the community, but the organizers have several other things going on throughout the day. The Flint Hills Veterans Coalition has their recognition honors banquet tonight at the American Legion Post 17 starting at 6 o'clock. Tickets are $12 per person, and the evening will feature community entertainment and speakers about Veterans Day. Another business in town is featuring a Veterans Day wine tasting just a short drive away from the American Legion. Guests at Harry's on Points Avenue will taste 5 wines all made in the U.S. by family-owned wineries from 7 to 8:30 tonight. Details can be found at harrysmanhattan.com. It's that time of the year again for a popular event for homeowners or anyone entertaining the idea of buying a home in the Flint Hills in the future. The Flint Hills Builders Association is back this weekend with the annual Parade of Homes going on from today and going to Sunday. The Parade of Homes is a tour of the area's newest houses that are for sale. Guests on the tour can pick and choose which houses they want to see around any area they would like. This is a great opportunity for anyone who wants to see the latest and greatest building materials, appliances, and design layouts. Even if you aren't planning on buying a new home anytime soon, this is a great way to get an idea for future home renovations. Go to FlintHillsBuilders.com for the details and the tour schedule this weekend. That'll do it for this week's Community Calendar. Now let's send it over to Gretchen.
Thanks for that, Avery. This past Saturday, people across the country celebrated National Bison Day. This day was a reminder of the legacy that the American bison have played ecologically, historically, and culturally within the U.S. And with that day of celebration, a new children's book just came out and is bringing that legacy to life. The author, a university educator at K-State, tells the story of a special bison calf born at the Konza Prairie Biological Station. The goal of the book is to educate children on the beauty of the tallgrass prairie and the need to preserve one of the last grasslands in this Great Plains region.
is a beautiful place. It's a compelling place. It's something worth conserving. It's something worth appreciating. And even more than that, it's something worth loving. And we want them to be prideful of the fact that this is their area, and understand that for a tallgrass prairie, over 96% of the original tallgrass prairie is gone. It's been plowed into agricultural fields. And so to have this resource here is a wonderful thing.
Speaking of the Konza Prairie and this new book, in the studio with us today, we have the author herself, Jill Hocus. Thank you so much for joining us
My
today,
pleasure
Jill.
to be here. Thank you.
So we have the book with us in the studio with a little stuffed animal that is so cute. So tell me a little bit about what kind of sparked you in writing this book.
This really was an attempt to bring the science of Konza Prairie and the tallgrass prairie management to children. This book is really designed for grades 4 through 5, but it could go really up to middle school. It profiles the story of one, like you said, special calf that was born in the autumn, which is interesting because most bison calves are born in the spring. So it profiles the story of a little orange calf. They stay orange for about 6 weeks after they're born, and this guy was still orange in the autumn. And so it profiles the story of this. It actually was this little girl calf, and how the challenges that she needs to address to survive through the winter because she's small. And along the way, we hit the science of burning and migration and predators, and so it pulls the whole science aspect into the story.
So not to give anything away for readers, but do you have maybe like a favorite part of the story or something that just kind of stuck out to you when you were either writing it or reading it maybe even?
Every year we bring the bison herd into Konza Prairie for roundup, and that's where we weigh each animal, and the new calves get their ear tags. And so we profile that story, and we talk about how the shape of the corrals is curved with no corners to ensure that the bison don't get stuck in a corner, and to keep them as safe as possible. And we talk about how this little bison calf needed to weigh 200 pounds by roundup in order to ensure that she was going to be safe. And so we talk about that process and how her mama cow kept her safe during that whole process. And so it's really a fascinating story.
Right. So we talked a little bit about kind of how there's some problems with preserving the Konza Prairie in our grasslands. Tell me a little bit, just short, brief, kind of what that reality really is for us.
The reality is that the tallgrass prairie, there's 3 different kinds of prairie, but the tallgrass prairie is one of the most endangered ecosystems in the world. It's more endangered than the rainforest. Over 96% of the tallgrass prairie has been converted into agricultural land, and we're lucky enough to have a really large chunk here in the Flint Hills, and so we're thrilled when we get a chance to share it with the people of the Flint Hills.
Right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Jill. Really quick, where can people find this book?
They can get this at the Flint Hills Discovery Center or at Claflin Books and Gifts or at Amazon.com.
Perfect. That's all we have time for this week. Thank you to the men and women who serve our country, from everyone here at MHK All Day. We'll be right back next week with the latest news around this area. Thanks so much, guys.
This is Channel 8 News.